Mingala, and welcome to My Radio's Myanmar Today. I'm Michelle with the recent news and reports from around Myanmar. Tarsan got the latest reports on State Counsellor. Only unity can help overcome COVID-19 challenge. Pure Diridu will give us all the details on Hluttaw advocates receiving loan to construct Tarsan Bridge. Tarsan also has the story on COVID-19 restriction extended to end of September. Soyana has the full story on tens of COVID-19 positive patients augur every day, starting from 16 August. All of these reports will be coming up on Myanmar Today. But for now, let's take a look at what's happening in local news. Union Minister for Health and Sports, Tarsan Bridge, held a video conference on 28 August with a team of United States Agency for International Development on its further healthcare assistance to Myanmar in malaria, tuberculosis, HIV/AIDS, and maternal and child health and measures against COVID-19. The responsible persons from the U.S. aid offices in United States and Myanmar participated in the discussions with MOH's headquarters in Naypyidaw. Deputy Chief of Mission Ms. Guan Cardo expressed the readiness to continue the U.S. aid health assistance to Myanmar and asked for the needs of Myanmar. Union Minister Tarsan Bridge advised the U.S. aid officers to make their visits to its project areas in Myanmar, the need of short-term training programs at U.S. CDC on communicable disease for MOH staff members. The Union Minister added the capacity and technical assistance of U.S. aid could promote capabilities of public healthcare staff and long-term healthcare sector. The acting mission director from the U.S. aid said, further health assistance and asked about the ministry instructions, recommendations, and advice on the existing aid of U.S. aid. The Ministry of Social Welfare, Relief and Resettlement organized a virtual meeting with officials in Chin State on providing assistance for internally displaced persons in Sami and Palewa townships, Chin State, on Saturday. Chin State Disaster Management Department's director reported on delivering assistance for IDP households under COVID-19 Economy Relief Plan, and MOSWRR Deputy Minister and Disaster Management Department's Director General coordinated the matters. The Union Minister said the staff to abide by COVID-19 guidelines in visiting IDP camps for delivering assistance and expressed thanks to them for fulfilling the ministry's duties amidst the difficulties, including transportation. As part of preparations for COVID-19, the ministry used 35 million jets and constructed 7 long houses to accommodate suspected IDP COVID-19 patients in Palewa and Sami townships. A total of 36 million jets was already allocated to build 5 long houses in Palewa and Sami townships. Myanmar nationals stranded in Australia and New Zealand due to the suspension of international flights were repatriated by relief flight on Sunday. The Myanmar National Airlines MNA flight carrying 90 Myanmar nationals stranded in Australia and 16 people and 30 seamen in New Zealand landed at the Yangon International Airport on Sunday evening. At the Yangon International Airport, officials of Ministry of Labour, Immigration and Population, Ministry of Health and Sports, and Yangon Region Government have provided them with the arrangements for 21-day quarantine and medical checkups in efforts to prevent the coronavirus infection. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is working in line with the directives of the National Level Central Committee on Prevention, Control and Treatment of COVID-19 to bring back Myanmar nationals stranded abroad due to the suspension of international flights. The swollen Irrawaddy River caused by torrential rain flooded to some houses in low-lying villages in Phai Township, Bagu region. The same events of floods happened in Phai in the first week of August, and a total of 616 houses were inundated by torrential rain and surging river water. According to the Township General Administrative Department, out of the affected houses and households, 23 households in Bidaya Ward, 20 households of 54 houses in Gondaling village tract, and 16 households of 69 houses in Zulu village tract have been evacuated, and they have moved to the houses of their relatives. Myanmar nationals continue to return from Thailand from 6 a.m. to noon on the 30th of August. 414 persons returned through the number 2 Thai-Myanmar Friendship Bridge in Myawarri of Kayin State, Information and Public Relations Department reported. Officials checked their health condition and fulfill requirements. The returnees are 252 men and 162 women from different regions and states. All the returnees are put into 21-day quarantine for COVID-19 prevention and control. That's all with the local news. Now we'll move on to our first report. State Counsellor Aung San Suu Kyi hosted a regular video conferencing with a focus on the current outbreak of COVID-19 and measures taken in Rakhine State. The State Counsellor mentioned that the government will support the fight against COVID-19 in Rakhine State in the fullest capacity, and she urged the citizens to cooperate.
State Counsellor Aung San Suu Kyi, in her capacity as the chairperson of the National Level Central Committee on Prevention, Control and Treatment of COVID-19, hosted a video conferencing at which the current outbreak of COVID-19 in Rakhine and the measures taken within the state were discussed together with the participants. U Nyipu, Chief Minister of Rakhine State, Dr. Saiwin Zolai, Head of Public Health Department of Rakhine State, and Sotho Moe from Yangon Region, who is currently working as a volunteer in Sidri of Rakhine State. The outbreak of COVID-19 in Rakhine State is so fast and the concerns are mounting among the citizens. The stay-at-home order was imposed on the whole state of the Rakhine and the contact tracing is being accelerated. The State Counsellor said banning the residents of Rakhine State not to go out of the state is not discrimination, since it will be difficult for the Ministry of Health and Sports to give proper and effective treatment to every patient if the infection spreads to the whole country. The current orders and regulations can be noted as necessities for effective treatment and management. U Nyipu, Chief Minister of Rakhine State, said.
The stay-at-home order has been imposed on the whole state. The concerns of public have grown in case it should be the sudden stop of freight transport from other areas, especially neighboring regions such as Makwe, Bako, and Myawarri. As the residents are not able to work, they are afraid of losing food security. We have organized the COVID-19 Control and Response Committee in different levels of administration and are taking necessary measures paying attention to the markets. Another point is that we have to support the people in quarantine centers. They are in need of financial aid. 85.5 million checks fund was already collected, and 1 billion checks was asked for emergency spending.
Then the volunteer in Sidri presented the needs and challenges happening in quarantine centers.
The
weakness of the people in quarantine in following the rules and regulation is the main challenge for us, the volunteers. Another point is the delay of protective items arrival such as PPEs, masks, surgical gown or gloves. If the protective item arrive even 1 day later, it is difficult for us. Sometimes the supplies are substandard. We don't want to be infected because of the unreasonable causes. We don't want the human resources of volunteers to go waste. The purpose of putting people into quarantine will be in vain if the outbreak happens within the quarantine centers. At present, as far as I am concerned, only 5% of staff assigned at the quarantine centers are volunteers, and the remaining are from government departments. I would like to invite more volunteers, especially request the volunteers from Rakhine State to participate, as sometimes there is language barrier for us when communicating with the residents.
In our response, the State Counsellor said that it will make sure to have food security in the state and the government will support both required materials and finance.
I guarantee that there will be no shortage of food in Rakhine State. The Union government will support necessary food supplies, and I believe the other states and regions will participate. For the financial necessity, we will provide to the fullest amount. Even though our country is not rich, we will support as much as we can. The generosity of our citizens is rich so that we will be able to provide enough support. The Ministry of Health and Sports will be careful to support competent preventive measures in time. We were able to control the outbreak during the previous 4 months, and it seems to be easy, but there were a lot of struggle for the government. We will support what the citizens need, but we have to consider both short-term and long-term. If we were able to put the outbreak under control within 3 or 4 weeks, it will be a relief. We need the cooperation of the residents. Only unity can help us overcome this challenge.
Along with the growing number of the positive patients in Rakhine State, the National Level Central Committee, the Ministry of Health and Sports, local authorities, as well as the volunteers are also speeding up preventive measures as well as public awareness. News reported by Tarsan from Myanmar International Radio.
That's the report on State Counsellor. Only unity can help overcome the COVID-19 challenge. The second Hluttaw held a 13-day meeting of the 17th regular section on Friday, 28th of August in Naypyidaw. At the section, the Hluttaw representative discussed receiving the 8.4 million euro loan from UniCredit Bank of Austria for the construction of Tarsan River Crossing Suspension Bridge in Tarsan.
The second Hluttaw held the 13-day meeting of 17th regular section on Friday, 28th of August in Naypyidaw. At the session, the Hluttaw sought for approval regarding Union Taxation Bill and discussed receiving the 8.4 million euros loan from UniCredit Bank of Austria for the construction of Tarsan River Crossing Suspension Bridge in Tarsan. Union Minister for Construction Hluttaw and Deputy Minister for Planning, Finance and Industry Mawin submitted the proposal to get 8.4 million euros loan that carries a zero interest rate from UniCredit Bank of Austria during the 12-day meeting of Hluttaw. The 7 representatives from various regions and constituencies discussed and advocated the proposal at the 13-day meeting. Hluttaw representative from Myanmar Township advocated on the proposal.
The existing Bailey Bridge has a 60 tons capacity, and it is no longer to withstand separate passing by freight trucks. The foods and commodities have to be carried separately by small trucks for 2 or more times. So, the transportation costs are not reasonable for merchants, and the residents have to pay the price in higher for the foods and commodities. They are expecting to the new bridge with 60 tons of capacity to be completed soon. When the new bridge is finished, the locals can travel from the eastern part of Shan State to southern part of Shan State with fewer miles. This bridge road is 50 miles shorter than the Taungji Nansan Jaindong Dachile road. So, the public can travel with savings in time and costs. Through this bridge, the public can travel to Dachile within a day. Tarsan River Crossing Suspension Bridge in Tarsan will be an important and strategic bridge for both public and military purposes. It will be useful for every sector in the border area with difficulty in transportation. And it can also help to develop the living standard in the region. As a representative of the residents, I would like to fully recommend receiving the 8.4 million euro loans with no interest rate from UniCredit Bank to buy iron railings to build Tarsan River Crossing Suspension Bridge in Tarsan.
The construction of a suspension bridge crosses Tarsan River in Tarsan. The bridge number 1/187 is located on Namsan, Mone, Maindo, Mindset, Dachile Road that link the southern and eastern part of Shan State. The iron railings for the bridge will be imported from Europe, and that Myanmar engineers will get new experiences on installation of iron railings for the suspension bridge. Hluttaw Representative Nankin Saw from Kunhain Township discussed the consequences of building the bridge impacting on the border trading.
အိန္ဒိယနိုင်ငံတွေဖြစ်တဲ့ထိုင်းလာအိုနဲ့တရုတ်နိုင်ငံတို့ကိုရှမ်းပြည်နယ်မှတဆင့်ကုန်သွယ်မှုပြုတဲ့အခါ
Whenever we make trading with the neighboring countries through Shan State, we have to pass by Danlin River. The existing Tarsan Bridge was built in 1996 and it has been used since 1999. The lifespan of the bridge is too old to use and its capacity is also decreasing. And only 16 tons of truckload are able to be permitted. So the flow of trading are limited now. The bridge is an important connection to Datilei, the main gate of city for the trading between Myanmar and Thailand. When the bridge is completed, we can transport the goods from middle part of Myanmar to Shan State and neighboring countries like Thailand, Laos, and China.
The loan program will be under the Union Budget Law for 2018-2020 fiscal year, the Public Debt Management Law, the 2018 Midterm Debt Management Strategy, and the Development Policy. The new bridge in Tarsan will have the 80 tons capacity. It will be constructed upstream from the existing bridge that is allowed for only 16 tons load, prohibiting 10-wheel trucks from crossing it. It is expected to become crucial for border trade between Myanmar and Thailand.
That's the report on Pidangsu Hluttaw advocates receiving loan to construct Tarsan Bridge. Stay with us as we bring you more reports on Myanmar Today. With the aim of controlling the current outbreak and infection spread of the COVID-19, the National Level-Centric Committee on Prevention, Control and Treatment of COVID-19 announced that the restrictions on COVID-19 are extended to the end of September. This includes the ban on gathering of more than 30 people, the closure of hostels, cinemas, and classes, the ban on festivities, and the suspensions of the arrival of international visitors.
The National Level Central Committee on Prevention, Control and Treatment of COVID-19 released an announcement stating that the remaining preventive measures against the spread of COVID-19 will be still in effect until the end of September. The National Level Central Committee reviewed the local condition and extended the restrictions every 2 weeks. But this time, in the light of the occurrence of the resurgence of COVID-19 in Rakhine State and local transmitted cases being found in other states and regions, the committee extended the restrictions for 1 month. The restrictions were issued including the stay-at-home order, ban on social gathering, and closures of specific places. When the COVID-19 situation was stable locally, the government relaxed the restrictions step by step. The remaining restrictions, which are not eased yet, include the ban on social gathering of more than 30 people, the closures of hostels, cinemas, and classes, and the ban on festivities. Moreover, the stay-at-home order is still in effect in the whole state of Rakhine, and the schools are ordered to shut after about 1 month of high schools reopening. The arrival of international visitors is still suspended until the end of September. Dr. Situlin, a specialist from Young Walkers Hospital, said.
No matter how the government release the restrictions and orders, if the citizens do not follow the rules, the orders cannot be effective. So the citizens have to follow the regulations released by the government. And on the other side, the government should take actions of any violence against the restrictions. I want to suggest the citizens not to be careless. I witnessed that the citizens in Yangon are going out without proper reasons. It is better to go out only when necessary, such as going for work. The citizens have to be reminded that the government issued the order because it is necessary, and they have to be aware of the consequences of failing to follow the restrictions. If you have contact with the persons coming back from Rakhine State where the outbreak happens, please don't hide but contact the authorities concerned. If it is necessary to be in quarantine, it is important to follow these quarantine rules.
The infection in Rakhine State is so fast and the rate of increase in positive patients is high, and the concerns are growing about the spread of virus not to center the crowded areas, especially Yangon. Since the restrictions have already been relaxed enough for walking, it is still necessary to control the possible cause of infection spread, such as opening of hostels or cinemas, where the crowd of more than 30 people can happen. Even though the restrictions may have impacts on specific businesses such as movie industry, teaching classes, tourism industry, what's important for the time being is to take the outbreak under control. Dr. Tim Region Hluttaw representative from South Glabra Constituency 1 spoke to MI Radio.
I support that the restrictions are still in effect because the infection rate is high. It is safe for all the citizens. If the restrictions are relaxed more, it is more dangerous. The citizens are careless if the infection is not found in their areas. But now, since the confirmed cases are also found in Yangon region, they have become more aware. I want to encourage the citizens to wear masks, wash hands, and, if possible, to practice social distancing. It is also important to follow the restrictions, such as not organizing or going to festivities.
A resident from Yangon region also expressed his opinion about the extension of the restrictions.
We all are facing with losses in business and employment. If it is unfortunate, we can be infected from silent carriers. We have to be aware of going outside. This is not good for us if the disease lasts longer. However, at the present time, it is better to extend the restrictions. If the citizens are not under control, the situation will be worse. We need to follow the restrictions released by the government, and the government should also make more public awareness and give more assistance.
The Ministry of Health and Sports calls for the cooperation of the citizens to inform them about the travel history to Rakhine State or the contact with the positive patients. News reported by Dora Suisin from Myanmar International Radio.
That's the report on COVID-19 restrictions extended to end of September. Starting from the 16th of August, the COVID-19 situation in Myanmar has become unstable, with the locally transmitted cases brought back the resurgence of the COVID-19. Sittwe became the epicenter with travelers to and from Rakhine State to everywhere across the country. There are more than 300 reported cases in Rakhine State within 2 weeks, and Sittwe has the highest number of cases.
Starting from 16th August, the COVID-19 situation in Myanmar has become unstable, with the locally transmitted cases brought back the resurgence of the COVID-19. Sittwe becomes the epicenter with the travelers to and from Rakhine State to everywhere across the country. The government has announced through state media about the suggestion on reporting the nearest medical centers if someone had traveled to and from the Rakhine State with domestic airlines since 10th of August to do medical tests along with the virus prevention processes. There are more than 300 reported cases in Rakhine State within 2 weeks, and Sittwe has the highest number of cases. Dr. Tanaiso, Director of Health Knowledge Promotion Division from the Ministry of Health and Sports, said.
The positive cases in Rakhine are rising day by day. We have to control it as much as we can with a combination of medical equipment, medical workers, hospital spaces, and budget. The government is making sure of being ready to give every support. The testing units are carrying out the same amount every day. It's early to say that the country's condition is leading to good or bad. We need the public's more support in these current situations as well. People have to follow the guidelines and also have to inform the nearest medical centers about the suspected patients. We should all together combat this resurgence.
The government is balancing between the health measures and the public social and economic matters. Till today, we can see crowds in public transportations, workplaces, and also markets. Social distancing rules can be applied for some reasons, but people are asked to follow the basic health guidelines, which are focused in washing hands and wearing masks properly. Counsellor, Secretary of Rakhine Ethnic Congress, told MI Radio about the current COVID-19 situations in Rakhine State.
အခြေခံပြစားတယ်သူတို့မှအရင်ကခေတ်ပြလာကြပြီပေါ့ဒါကြောင့်မလို့သူတို့အနေနဲ့ဒီလမ်းပေါ်ထွက်ပြီးတော့မှအလုံးဝကြားတော့ပြေးလာရပါလေဗျအရင်တော့ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့
Although stay-at-home order was imposed, the grassroots are facing difficulties in their living, so they are going out to work. After a week passed with stay-at-home order, it becomes difficult for the people. The residents say that they know about the virus, that the infection is fast and dangerous, but they can't stay inside for the living of their family. They say they will wear masks, wash hands while going out. At the video conferencing, State Counsellor Tarsan Bridge said the government will provide assistance to Rakhine State for food security. We believe in the words of our state councillor and are hoping for better situation. We still have many challenges, needs, and we have to look at the ground level situation of the grassroots people that they are struggling, and we welcome donors, any organizations to help us and volunteers.
To combat the disease, everyone in every sector is on their duty. The volunteers are flying to Rakhine State group by group. Medical workers are also on their duty to take care of the patients. The researchers are occupied in experimenting with the swab tests in respective laboratories. Dr. Sidule, a specialist from Yangon Workers Hospital, said.
ရခိုင်မှာတော့ပြဿနာတစ်ခုရှိတာတော့ဘာဖြစ်သွားလဲဆိုတော့ဖြစ်နေတဲ့လူကြီးရေးအတွက်နဲ့ပေါ့နော်ဒီပေးနိုင်တဲ့ကျွန်တော်
One challenge in Rakhine is the current inequality between positive patients and the medical appliances that the government could provide. Likewise, the patients are rising times and times every day. The hospitals are insufficient enough for accommodating the increase in patients. If this current situation occurred, we could stave off by prioritizing the serious patients to put in hospitals and the rest are at facility quarantines or home quarantine. Here in Yangon, we have sufficient amount of hospitals and other medical supplies for NASH patients. The strategies are different in different regions and states.
There are altogether 787 COVID-19 reported cases in Myanmar, with 352 recoveries and 6 deaths, according to the data released by the Ministry of Health and Sports as of 8 a.m. on 31st August.
That's the report on tens of COVID-19 positive patients occur every day, starting from 16 August. And that's all we have for today's report. And it's time to check on some international news here on Myanmar Today. A Chinese central government spokesperson on Sunday expressed strong condemnation of and sent a severe warning against a Samir on the mainland's assistant with the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region's fight against COVID-19. A spokesperson for the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office of the State Council in a statement said, such a smear by Hong Kong-based anti-China troublemakers shows a gross disregard of Hong Kong residents' safety, health, and is malicious. The spokesman said that the central government is highly concerned about the pandemic situation in Hong Kong and has set a batch of supportive teams to support Hong Kong to fight COVID-19 at the request of the HKSER government. The central government sent testing personnel to Hong Kong to help with the mass nucleic acid testing, assisted the city in building temporary quarantine and treatment centers and bore the relief and expenses. Chinese State Counsellor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi on Sunday said he hopes France and other European countries can play a role and help ease the tension between China and the US, as he spoke at a conference by the French Institute for International Relations in Paris. Wang made the remarks in response to a question regarding the recent tension between China and the US, adding that the door of dialogue with Washington is always open. The world is on the crossroad of unprecedented challenges, one said, calling for strengthening cooperation with Europe to provide more stability to the world in the face of disturbances. Defining China as a defender and contributor of the world peace and development, the senior Chinese diplomat also pledged that China will shoulder its own responsibility together and never seek China first in the international community. According to its health ministry figures, India on Sunday set a coronavirus record when it reported 78,761 new infections in 24 hours, the world's highest single-day rise. Home to 1.3 billion people, India is already the world's third most infected nation with more than 3.5 million cases, following the US and Brazil. The Federal Health Ministry data showed the COVID-19 death toll in India jumped by 948 to 63,498. In the regular monthly radio address on Sunday, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi did not comment on the milestone, but called on Indians to observe health safety measures. Modi said in Hindi, quote, "It is important that every citizen is healthy and happy, and we defeat coronavirus completely together." End quote. The virus has badly hit mega cities such as financial hub Mumbai and the capital New Delhi, but it's now also surging in smaller cities and rural areas.
Infections there are now growing at the fastest rate in the world. Total cases are more than 3.5 million, yet restrictions are being eased, like underground train services resuming next week and gatherings of up to 100 people being allowed later in September.
And that's all we have for today. Thank you very much for joining me on Myanmar Today. I'm Michelle. Have a good day. I'll see you next time.